Hi, my name is Tony.
And I'm Chris.
And we love pop culture. We often find ourselves discussing film, music, literature, and more, going down the rabbit hole of how everything is connected. We want to share those moments in pop culture that are seemingly unrelated, but connected by just a few links. Welcome to the Pop Culture Connection. Hello and welcome back to part 3 of the Pop Culture Connection podcast horror movie special. Next week we will be back to our normal format of connecting to seemingly unrelated people or events in pop culture, and we're looking to get back to that with a special timely episode, so please tune in. If you were with us for the previous episodes, in part 1 we discussed the family connection from Jason Miller in The Exorcist to Jason Patrick's of The Lost Boys. Then in part 2, we covered Corey Haim in The Lost Boys to his other monster flick, Silver Bullet, Stephen King's connection to that film, and his helpful review of The Evil Dead, the back and forth relationship between Sam Raimi and Wes Craven, Craven's most well-known character, Freddy Krueger, and his fight with another big slasher of that time, Jason Voorhees, and a film that never got made, which would have teamed up Michael Myers and Pinhead from Hellraiser. So now in this final episode, we'll talk more about Michael Myers, another family connection between Halloween and a groundbreaking Hitchcock film, the real-life inspiration of a few of horror's biggest villains, and an 80s classic suburban horror story. So let's get into it. Because to me, the later Halloween films made Michael some kind of like spirit or a demon or something. Whereas to me, Michael Myers is frightening because he's a guy. He's just a dude.
Yeah,
and that's what makes him scary.
The recent films kind of harken back to, but they don't rule out that he, somehow he's able to withstand all this stuff. So you don't know, is it just some extreme mental focus that he has, that part of his psychopathy is that he's also able to not really listen to the pain signals in his body, whereas the later films would posit that he doesn't feel this because he's otherworldly,
right?
And I'm with you. It's scarier when you think he's just so much a crazy murderer that he's just fine with getting shot or getting stabbed or getting burned. It's like even that,
as long as it doesn't impede him from killing more.
Right.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left. No reason, no conscience, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life or death, of good or evil, right or wrong. I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
And that's, again, 1978, Halloween comes out. There was nothing really like that had come. Texas Chainsaw had come before. It was a little bit different. There had been Black Christmas previously, which Halloween was influenced by, but Michael Myers was such a big thing, and they didn't, no one really expected that to become this ongoing story of this character.
Mm-hmm. Because of that ambiguity, because you don't know, is he just a crazed person, or is there something more to it? Is he possessed or supernatural in some way? He seemed to possess a superhuman strength, but then he was also this just huge guy, so you didn't know, it's like he's just really strong.
And even as a child, as a small child, had just killed his sister in cold blood while putting on a mask at the time of Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Was it he was taken over by some Lord of the Dead that has to come around every once in a while to purge things,
or is he just a very sick individual?
Right. And that's what makes him such a fascinating character. And Halloween is definitely one of my go-to. I watch it every October 31st. The original. I love the series. They're not all good, but
what is?
I definitely like the 2018, the latest one. We're waiting on Halloween Kills here. We'll see how that is. I'm going to see it no matter what because it's Michael Myers. But yeah, definitely at that time, I could see that. Again, it was one of those movies that people lost their minds when they first saw it because there was nothing else that kind of like fit that. Between the music and the acting and the storyline, there's, that the theme to Halloween is one of the most iconic horror themes that
it conjures up that bit of dread in you, even though it's well known and well worn. It's still effective.
It's part of why I love it. And he had Jamie Lee Curtis, her first role. She went on to become a scream queen in a way after the success of Halloween. She was in several other horror films, Prom Night, The Fog, Terror Train. But she was kind of going back to Exorcist. Her mother was Janet Leigh from Psycho. And she was about 12 years old when The Exorcist was made, and they actually called to see if she would be interested in portraying Regan in The Exorcist. And Janet Leigh, having been in Psycho, said, absolutely not. I will not let my daughter be part of that.
I'll let her do Halloween in a few years.
In a few years when she's ready.
A much more subdued and family-friendly film.
Just very interesting that family is part of, Norman Bates and Michael Myers. Again, you talk about Norman Bates, just a dude.
Yeah, two iconic psychos of movie history.
And two women who are, battling him or surviving the final girl or figuring out what's going on with it. I love that. And then Janet Leigh was also in Halloween H2O. She was Norma, who was the assistant and actually driving the same car as her character in Psycho.
It's probably the best one in the series.
H2O?
Yeah.
Out of all of them. What about part 8?
Yeah.
When there was karate moves used against...
I mean, you gotta have LL Cool J in every movie.
I did. H2O is probably one of my better liked sequels of the others, but I like that they used Janet Leigh
reprising that role.
Right. And there's even like a little musical cue from the Psycho theme when she's on, which I like.
Oh, damn it! Oh, Miss Tate, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you jump.
It's okay.
Well, hey, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
I've had my share.
Miss Tate, I know it's not my place. If I could be maternal for a moment. I don't like to see you like this. I've seen you like this before, and we've all had bad things happen to us. The trick is to concentrate on today. What do I know? You just take care of yourself, okay?
Thank you very much. I'll see you Monday.
Oh, Miss Tate, happy Halloween.
Psycho's another one, 1960. The people who first saw that, I can't even imagine what people thought. Because when you still looking back at it, it's brutal and crazy.
To a degree, I think it's one of those generation-defining points to where people look at it now and think, like, what's the big deal? It's just, it's not that gruesome. But, once again, you're judging that post that thing that you're using as the yardstick. Prior to that, you couldn't show blood. And the fact that they even showed the blood going down the drain was controversial and maybe beyond the pale for some audiences.
And a woman in a shower invulnerable.
That as well, yeah.
How many people, what person's shower was ever the same after watching Psycho? When you're nude and at your most vulnerable and not expecting something like that.
Yeah, as a kid, I would think about that when I was in the shower and having just known of that scene.
Not even seeing it, knowing
not even seeing it. Yeah, you
or,
just know of that. You growing up in this culture, you know of that scene, and you think like, is anyone there? And then it's been parodied and lampooned just to death, pun intended.
I think that is definitely one of those things, just like Jaws, that made people afraid to go in the water. Psycho was one of those
afraid to go in the water.
Affected everyone from. This is a place where I should feel safe, but I'm vulnerable, and then anything could happen.
Yeah, and then since then, not even the parodies withstanding, just the idea of the shower being a place of vulnerability has been used quite often in horror movies.
Yeah, especially the slashers that we've talked about. There's not many that don't have a shower scene.
Yeah, it provides the nudity, which provides titillation and emphasis on the titillation
and the cockulation. But the character of Norman Bates, such a seemingly normal guy,
normal,
and having that twisted side to him. Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Hopkins is also good.
He's also good. Anthony Perkins, his portrayal of that character, he just so good. And who is this? There's something off, but I kind of trust him.
He seems nice.
He seems all right, but there's something. Yeah.
They're probably watching me. Well, let them. Let them see what kind of a person I am. I'm not even going to swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see. They'll see and they'll know. And they'll say, why, she wouldn't even harm a fly.
Yeah, that character of preserving human remains in your home was kind of loosely inspired by real life Ed Gein.
Nice guy.
I don't know if they classify him as a serial killer because
I would think so.
He didn't really he dug up.
He exhumed,
but
more
he
did kill people.
He killed a couple people, but to be specifically classified serial, there has to be an X number of people.
He didn't make the cut.
He didn't make the cut. But he did exhume bodies and use skin for things like lampshades.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you start making furniture out of people's skin, you've fallen into the category whether
you might be a serial killer.
if you've ever made a lampshade out of human skin,
you might be a serial killer. He definitely influenced a lot. Not only Norman Bates, but also Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw 74, that was prior to Halloween. And it doesn't even feel like... It feels like a documentary. That feels like you're there. Tobe Hooper made you feel like you were in that situation.
Yeah, a documentary where you were part of a psychotic family who murders random passersby.
There's not you and I have talked about before the dinner table scene.
Yeah,
of her sitting there and the way that the camera.
It's a psychedelic scene.
It's just
tripped out.
It's maddening. Like the last 20 minutes of that movie are her screaming in panic and terror, and it gets to you after a while unless there's something wrong with you.
Unless you turn it off.
And I remember the first time I saw it was on beta. So it had that grainy look to it. And I can remember when she first goes into the room with all of the furniture she finds made out of bones and the chicken feathers. Like, you can smell that scene.
Ugh.
And between that and the van ride with the hitchhiker, like, you feel like you're there in it. And just the sweaty, it's hot Texas, the air AC in the van doesn't work. And just like, that's why I love Patton Oswalt talking about, he had reviewed it for a anniversary edition. It said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a great movie because you know what you're getting from the title. Texas, this can't be good. Chainsaw, oh no. Massacre, oh, what is this movie?
Yeah, it does not leave you guessing as to what is coming up.
It's not like a rom-com with Jennifer Aniston. Things are gonna be good. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know what you're getting right off the bat.
Which could there be a better title to a movie?
No, that's it. You got it.
You got it.
And you get a crazy, inbred, redneck, cannibalistic family in the middle of nowhere.
Not too different from The Hills Have Eyes.
Right.
A little bit. They're a little more post-apocalyptic biker chain gang guys, but
these are more real American down-home country folk.
Mm-hmm.
These are like Cracker Barrel killers.
The Cracker Barrel Killer.
That'd be a good movie. Let's make that. But the narrator at the beginning, did you know that was John Larroquette?
No.
That was one of John Larroquette's first role before Night Court, which is scary in and of itself.
There's a horror movie called Night Court, or
no, just Night Court, just being going to a court at night. It's scary. But apparently, according to him, his fee was a joint.
That sounds about right.
It's like, we'll give you a joint if you do this, narrate this opening segment. Okay.
All right, man.
Yeah, it was 1974.
Mm-hmm.
That fits.
The film which you are about to see is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths, in particular, Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother, Franklin. It is all the more tragic in that they were young. But had they lived very, very long lives, they could not have expected, nor would they have wished to see as much of the mad and macabre as they were to see that day. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon drive became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
But that was, an early Tobe Hooper movie before he did Poltergeist. Which is...
Well before. Texas Chainsaw is as much about a raw movie as you can get. And rightly so.
And then, you get the very Spielberg Poltergeist.
Yeah, I mean, Tobe Hooper's credited as directing it, but it feels a lot like Steven Spielberg said, here's what you're gonna do. And then he just did it. Although, I will say that maybe Hooper leans and lingers on shots longer than Spielberg would have, which gives it its flavor.
Yes.
It's a little more patient movie.
Yes, they definitely collaborated. I think at the end of the day, it was Tobe Hooper who made Poltergeist, but there was definitely input from Spielberg. That suburban, it's like a sister film to E.T.
Sure.
Almost like the next town over.
Well, that's why he didn't direct it, because he was working on E.T.
Right.
Or else he would have.
You can feel that in it between the music and the references and the children. And it's, to me, one of the good, early, if you want to get into horror or want to get a younger person into horror, Poltergeist is a good starting point.
It's a perfect movie insofar as you can watch it with a child and they can understand what's going on, but yet an adult, it's complex enough for adults to enjoy, and everybody is terrified.
And to be afraid or enjoy it on a different level, as to a parent losing their child, or a child being away from their parent, or just being a normal suburban family experiencing something terrifying.
Yeah, it plays into kind of the modern, a lot of kids grow up with the monster in the closet, and I think that's a very modern kind of trope for families. And here in America, everyone had their own room, so it's kind of this American ideal of you put the kids down to bed and then they see something in their closet, and to have that closet be the center of this interdimensional anomaly that is plaguing this family is just very appropriate.
And through the television, especially at the time.
And the TV, it just hits on all those American suburban ideals.
And the young child being afraid of a tree outside that, I know a lot of people say that they're afraid of clowns because of the It, Tim Curry made for TV It. But for me, it was Poltergeist that made me terrified of clowns.
Hate you.
Oh, God.
Hate that clown.
Yeah. That still, to this day, can freak anyone out. Because it's just, they did such a good job of usurping the expectation of looking under the bed and seeing it under the bed. And then he sits up and it's there. Yeah. Such a good jump scare.
But I think the setup, what works best for that scene, is he throws his jacket over it, but it doesn't quite cover it the way he wants it to. So you think there's going to be this, like, okay, now it's gone, but he kind of misses in a way, and he's just like
a kid would.
And to keep that in the movie, to show that he's too scared to fix his mistake, is something I can identify with as a child, to be like, I've tried to remedy this, but I'm too scared to go further. But I'm also going to try to play it cool and be like, that's fine, and psych myself out.
Yeah, there's a lot of good moments like that in Poltergeist that you can identify with. No matter who you are, you might have been in that situation as a child and feeling that something is scary, something's out of my control. Or as a parent, what would happen if my child was gone and I'm dealing with this otherworldly environment that I have no idea how to control. It's just that perfect blend of horror.
Yeah.
That
Craig T. Nelson is great in it. The scene where they come to the house and he's already just over it, and he's drinking a beer in the morning and he hasn't shaved.
Yeah.
And,
I think it was, Spielberg to, again, idea of what suburban parenthood was like. We built this ideal situation for our children and our family, but when things go wrong, we don't know how to deal with it.
Plus, one of the first movies that showed pot use in a very just kind of work-a-day sort of fashion.
Former hippie parents, raising a family in the Reagan era.
After the kids go to bed, we roll one up, and that's that. That's what a lot of people were doing, but it was taboo to discuss that. Yeah. To just show it in a very casual manner was a big breakthrough.
They're here.
Sweetie, remember last night? Do you remember when you woke up and you said they were here?
Uh-huh.
Well, who did you mean? Who's here?
TV people.
Something's funny going on here next door. Something,
We were wondering if maybe you had experienced any disturbances lately.
What kind of disturbances?
I don't know what hovers over this house. I've never sensed anything like it.
So that's it. That's our Halloween horror movie special, kind of talking about all the connections between Exorcist through Poltergeist, there's a lot of different, maybe not always the same actor, same director, but little references, connections, little things here and there for the Halloween season. So.
Yeah, and there's just so many movies and so many avenues you can go down with this that we could actually do every episode in this genre and make it work. I would say by no small margin that horror is the genre with the most films to its name.
And the ones that we can probably make the easiest connections. But that aside, we just like to discuss it. And, maybe next year, around this time of year, we'll find a different avenue, discuss other films. But until then, we're available at the PCCCast at gmail.com, the PCCCast at Twitter. We're on Instagram at The Pop Culture Connection. You can find our Facebook group at The Pop Culture Connection. And until then, stay connected and stay scared. Okay, folks, so that is it for our first horror movie special. We had a lot of fun with these episodes and always love talking horror, but we're also looking to get back to our usual format and link up some very different pop culture events. So be on the lookout for that, and please don't forget to check out our social media, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, shoot us an email, or just say hi. We use Linktree, so you can find all of our stuff at linktr.ee/thepccCast. We would really appreciate some feedback and would love to hear from you. Again, if you can offer some challenges of 2 things we can link together, give us some ideas of what you're liking or may not be liking. Please give us a review on Apple Podcasts, and if you can mention that the show, if you're liking it, to a person you think might enjoy it, please go ahead. We would really appreciate it and would love to hear any more that you might have to say. So until next time, stay scared and stay connected.